Hello, 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 good evening. It's your good buddy Spider back again with another episode of your new favorite podcast. I'm still going to call it your new favorite podcast because maybe you just found it tripping around over the internet, tiptoeing about, and I just came up in your feed somewhere. Or maybe not. Maybe you're not listening at all. And I'm talking to no one. But who knows? Anyway, this week, I hope you're ready to get your groove on. I'm not. We're going to be talking about the dance craze. Let's talk about this. I was a little slow on my effect there. I didn't have it queued up like I should have. So it's a little bit of a slapdash kind of show, I suppose, tonight. But, yeah, the dance craze. What am I referring to exactly? I'm sure you've heard at least one of these. The Macarena, the YMCA, the Funky Chicken, which is the chicken dance, regardless. You know, over the many years that human beings have been hanging out in groups at formal and semi-formal events, they've invented a large number of coordinated things to do. And we call them dances, and I don't know, some of them are probably loosely defined as a dance. But you remember when you were in school and you'd go to the high school dance and they'd do the slow dance, and all you would do is just put your arms on the other person and you just walk back and forth, kind of sway a little bit in a little circle, all nervous, and that'd be it. You know, it's, I don't know, is that dancing? I don't know. People define dancing kind of loosely, I think, but that's probably just personal opinion. These, of course, like I said, are coordinated between relatively large groups of people. And they're big cultural things. Like, they happen and then they sweep across, at least the United States, they just sweep across the nation. And people are doing it everywhere. You go to any club or bar or, you know, any social gathering, a wedding or whatnot, where there's some kind of music being played by somebody, and chances are they're going to play at least one of the things from this list, if not more than one. Weddings are like this, especially. Weddings are ridiculous. They always pull out the chicken dance, the funky chicken, and they always pull out, like, I don't know if they do the Macarena so much anymore, but they always pull out the electric slide and things like that. And some places still do the hokey pokey, if you believe that. I mean, everybody knows the hokey pokey, right? All right, well, we're going to talk about some of these. It's going to be a weird show because a lot of these you won't be able to visualize. And obviously, I can't dance, and I wasn't about to film myself trying to attempt some of these, which would have been an entirely different sort of episode altogether. I'm sure some people would really have enjoyed that, but it's not going to happen. I'm not a dancer. But let's get into it. Now, dances, all the way back, the first recorded, like, coordinated, that wasn't like ballroom, post-medieval Renaissance kind of dancing for, like, the French court and whatnot, but the first recorded one that we know of is the cakewalk from the mid-1800s. It was a dance, according to Wikipedia here, it was a dance developed from the prize walks, which were dance contests with a cake awarded as the prize, which is pretty good. I might actually attempt to do that, but I'd probably fail. But I like cake. Held in the 19th century. And it's generally at get-togethers and plantations before and after emancipation. And it was performed with a comical formality, and may have developed as a subtle mockery of the more mannered dances of the plantation owners. So, some of the stuff is defiance, and that's good. The next one was 1909, and it was called The Grizzly Bear. It started in San Francisco, with two other dances called the Bunny Hug and the Texas Tommy. And the Turkey Trot, apparently, the Turkey Trot. And I'm looking at pictures, because cameras were around at the time, and it shows people doing it. And it's just, they got their hands up like, oh, I'm a bear. It looks pretty funny, honestly. According to Wikipedia, of course, the dance was rough and clumsy. During the dance, the dancers would yell out, "It's a bear!" And the genuine grizzly bear step was a correct imitation of the movements of a dancing bear, as you would have seen in a circus at the time. So, if that gives you any idea. From there, it jumps to 1926. And from 1926 on, these dances become pretty regular throughout the years. Every couple of years, there's a new one. And 1926 is the Charleston, which is named after Charleston, South Carolina. And it was paired with a song called The Charleston by a composer named James P. Johnson. And it was in a Broadway show called Runnin' Wild. And this is the classic thing where you put your hands on your knees and you move your knees like together and to the side so it looks like you're switching legs, like your legs are hopping to different parts of your body. That sounds weird if you've never heard it, but you for people who've done this or who have seen it before, you know what I'm talking about. That's part of the Charleston. So you know what you're talking about. I'm going to jump ahead a few years. I'm not going to say every single dance on this list because we would be here all night long, I think. But the next one that I recognize was from 1941, and it somehow still manages to get into popular shows and cartoons, mostly cartoons. The conga. It's a novelty line dance. And everybody gets into a long line, and then sometimes it turns into a circle, and you go dun 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 dun. Right? Everybody knows that. You might be like, where have I heard that from before? And you've heard it probably all over, from cartoons as a kid or from somewhere. And you've seen people do it, and you take 3 steps and then a kick. 1, dun 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 dun, kick. 1, 2, 3, kick. 1, 2, 3, kick. Right? And that was around for a long time. People do that. I don't know how often people still do it, but I have seen it done in my lifetime. In the mid-40s, 1940s that is, you had the Hokey Pokey. We all know the Hokey Pokey. All kids have to do the Hokey Pokey. It apparently originated in a British folk dance with variants attested as early as 1826. And it became a chart hit twice in the 1980s. Like, for real. Like, it was number 18 on the top 100 charts in 1981. Wow. Let's see. And you know how it goes. You put your right hand in, you put your right hand out, right hand in, and you shake it all about, right? Hokey Pokey. Now, the most recent reference that I've had to the Hokey Pokey, and I know this is a family show, so and I'm not going to use any bad language. I don't want people to think that. And I'm not going to talk about anything that kids shouldn't be doing. But I am going to mention a show that I watched that is not for kids. Okay, don't have your kids watching. It's definitely a grown-up show. But they use it as, in the very last episode of the show. It's got 6 seasons. And the last episode, towards the very end, when everything's wrapping up and all the character arcs are finished and they're, tying their loose ends, the hokey pokey is used as a life lesson. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around, and that's what it's all about. And that's what's used as a life lesson, because you're supposed to, if you've done bad things and you're, stuck in a horrible cycle of badness and whatever, you turn yourself around, and that's what it's all about. Okay? Sounds silly, I know. But it's a show on Netflix about a talking horse. And you might know what I'm talking about. If you don't, that's okay. Again, it's not for kids. Don't have your kids be looking it up. But that's the hokey pokey. And the hokey pokey was definitely something that was always big when I was a kid. I think I've still seen it at some events. I remember distinctly being to a wedding somewhere in the last 30 years where they did it. Possibly even a family reunion. I don't know. We're going to jump up to 1952 with the bunny hop. And the bunny hop was meant to be for a mixer dance or a dance party where there would be ladies and gents of various genders all together, mixed together. It wasn't just all men and all women and whatever. And it's kind of like the conga line. You hold on to the hips of the person in front of you. It's kind of like, okay, family show though, remember. You tap the floor 2 times with your left foot, then once with your right foot, then you hop forwards, then backwards, and finally 3 hops forward. And that continues throughout the whole sequence. It sounds like something that clumsy people would knock the whole line over. I know I would. I don't like doing stuff like this, but it's funny. It's funny to me. And you may enjoy such things. We're going to jump up to the 1960 with the twist. The twist. And it inspired other dances like the jerk, the pony, the Watusi, the mashed potato, the monkey, and the funky chicken. But none of them were quite as popular as the twist. Basically, you basically stand still with your arms, hips, and your arms and things, and you twist your torso, your legs, and the balls of your feet, creating a twisting motion. It sounds weird, but if you saw me do it, like, I don't really want to do it, so please don't ask me to do it for you. But if you saw me do it, you'd be like, oh, you twist. Oh, it's a twist. Okay, it's the twist. And that's one that's been around. The locomotion in 1962. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. Right. That's not my best singing voice, but I mean, there we go. The locomotion. Everybody knows the locomotion. It was a supposed to be for an R&B singer, but they turned it down. It was in the United States top 3 of the Billboard charts. And each one was a different decade. In 1962 by Little Ava, number 1. In 1974 by Grand Funk Railroad, again number 1. And apparently in 1988, Kylie Minogue did one at number 3. And it was also interesting because it was featured on, I believe, an episode of The Fresh Prince, maybe? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the Will Smith show from the 90s. I think it was the 90s. Was it the 80s? I think it was the 90s. And like one of his adopted cousins was in like a band, and they were doing it, and they made it seem like it was their song that they wrote and things like that. But I don't know. I don't remember the episode. But still, it was like supposed to get them on the radio and make them famous, and then everything backfired and whatever. And it's been around for a long time. You still hear about the locomotion sometimes. The Mashed Potato from 1962. It was made famous by James Brown in 1959. Ooh. It's similar to the Twist. I could describe the paragraph here, but it's pretty complicated. But it's very similar to the Twist. It involves footwork and not so much upper body work. The Mashed Potato. Go to YouTube if you're a responsible adult. Go to YouTube and look up some of these dances. Make sure you put in like mashed potato dance. Otherwise, you're going to get like 12,000 videos of people cooking mashed potatoes. But that's how you can follow up on some of these dances. You can see them done. 1962 was the Monster Mash, and it's paired with the song, of course, that plays around Halloween time. The Monster Mash. And I didn't realize that there was actually like a dance to it. But apparently there was. The Watusi in 1962. It was one of the most popular dance crazes of the 1960s in the United States. And basically what you do, you put your arms out in front of you and move them up and down. You flail up and down vertically. It sounds funny, and the monkey is a similar dance to that. The monkey, because it was popularized in a cartoon called Johnny Bravo, and it's part of the theme song, the intro theme song. And it's very similar to the Watusi. Now the chicken dance. Everybody's heard the chicken dance, whether you know it's called the chicken dance or not. It's that, and that's the worst rendition of that song I've ever heard. But that's the song. And as you were listening to me do that, you're probably like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And you flap your elbows and things, like flapping wings and whatnot. The chicken dance is one of the most ridiculous coordinated dances ever. When I was in school, in elementary school, we'd have music class, and there'd sometimes be units on like dances and things like that, and there'd always be times when they'd want us to do that, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it, because I felt so ridiculous, even as a kid. Like, I know kids love doing ridiculous things and just being silly and being crazy, but I wasn't that kind of kid. I liked to think of myself as a more serious child. I had a big imagination that I saved for other things, like with my action figures and my Legos and everything else. I did not like coordinated dance sequences, and the chicken dance I liked the least. That's the one I absolutely disliked above all others. And there always seemed to be a time when they would want us to do it. And I would get in trouble for refusing to do it in school. For not participating is really what it was. But man, I hated it. The chicken dance. But you know what it is. You've heard the song, you've seen it done. If you've never done it yourself, you have seen people do it, so you know all about the funky chicken, the chicken dance. The Limbo in 1965. Oh, the Limbo still gets some play around here sometimes. The Limbo, there's a song that goes with it. How low can you go? Bum, bum. And I don't remember the rest of the melody, I just know that part. But they set up 3 sticks, right? 2 vertical and 1 horizontal laying across the top 2. And you're supposed to lean back a little bit as you go under it as the song's playing and not touch the stick or fall over. Otherwise you're out. Because it's a competitive dance, right? It's a competition dance. And after everybody's gone through, it lowers a notch. And they keep lowering it notch after notch until there's only 1 person left. And they see how far that person can go. But that person is the winner if they're the last person left regardless. But they still keep going until there's no possible way a person can get under it. That's the Limbo. You've seen that done before. The Limbo. In 1966, there was a version of the Watusi done on the 1960s Adam West Batman TV show called the Batusi. And that's the one where you put your fingers in a V shape and you move them past your eyes like one or the other while wiggling your bottom half and stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Alright. Younger folks maybe you're just like, what the heck? Younger folks, if you've seen the Lego Batman movie, okay, and there's the part where Alfred is talking about all the times that Batman has been depressed in his life, and he goes all the way back and he says, that weird one in the 1960s something, and it shows the old original Batman from then. He's doing the Batusi. He's dancing around, okay? Now you gotta go back and watch it. 1970s, The Sprinkler. You would kind of stand still and one arm would be bent up and the other one would be out, and you'd act like you were a garden sprinkler. The Hustle in 1972. Do the hustle. Something like that. I don't know the exact tune anymore. But apparently it has steps similar to the mambo and the salsa. And I don't know. I can't demonstrate it for you. The Time Warp, though. Again, this is another one that's a grown-up one. Okay, kids? So don't go asking your parents about the Time Warp. They'll feel compelled to tell you about the movie, and you're not old enough for the movie yet. If you are old enough for the movie, then maybe your parents can tell you about it. But it was from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And if you know that, you know, let's do the time warp again. I'm really off with my vocals today. I'm not in like a singing space, so it sounds horrible. But more so than usual. But the time warp came from that. And it's a big coordinated thing. And they have it in the early part of the film, and they repeat it later towards the end as a reprise. And it gets played at other places. It's a popular Halloween song, too, which is strange. But it is. It's a popular Halloween song. The Electric Slide in 1976. This is another one of the big ones. Like, I don't know. It's one I always hated doing, and they would want you to do it in school, and people do it at weddings all the time, and it's electric, and I don't remember how like the rest of the song goes, but it's supposed to go with a song called The Electric Boogie, and if you're at a wedding where there's a lot of middle-aged people, I guess now there'd be more people in their late 40s and 50s. Because it used to be something that people in their 30s would be into, and now it's like late 40s and 50s, the Electric Slide. And, yeah. The Robot in 1976, you ever seen that? It's a street dance that people do at functions sometimes, depending on the music. Like, it came back in a big way with dubstep. So if you're familiar with, like, the dubstep stuff and the more heavy sounding hip hop things, the Robot came back. It's real coordinated, and you got to make it look real smooth and yeah, look it up. Look it up. The Running Man. That's where you basically look like you're running. The YMCA. YMCA. I can stay at the YMCA. From the Village People. The YMCA involved you putting your arms up and forming the letters over your head. Like, you put them up into a Y shape, and then you bring them down to touch your head as like an M. And then, the YMCA. And there's been different variations of that over the years, too. The Moonwalk from the 1980s, popularized by Michael Jackson. Difficult to master. I've always tried, as we all did as children, and I've never been able to get it quite right. You have to move just the right amount of, like, everything in your body at once when you're moving your feet, and it's as much optical illusion as it is actual movement. But I can't get it. Always tried. The Harlem Shake from 1981. That's another one that's come back. It came back in 2001, and then it came back a few times. Like, the Harlem Shake, I think, has been mentioned a few more times in the last several years, to be honest. It's similar to the Robot. And it's real jerky and real kind of, like, specific. The Thriller Dance. Another Michael Jackson one. The Thriller Dance involves dancing like a zombie, like shuffling around and like moving your shoulders, and it's very specific. Like, I'm even doing it right now a little bit, even though I'm just sitting on the couch. But people do that sometimes at weddings if it's around the season, around spooky season. The Thriller Dance. More people know the dance than they know necessarily the song. A lot of people like the dance better than the song itself, but it's distinctive. It is distinctive. Let's see. In 1990s, this is kind of a goofy one. It's called The Carlton, and it's based again off Fresh Prince of Bel-Air from the character Carlton. And the actor has been known to bring it back every so often because it's so distinctive. It swings his arms like in a specific way to left and right. If you've never seen it before, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you have, you know. When you know, you know. The Boot Scootin' Boogie from 1990. That was from a band called Asleep at the Wheel. And it was covered by Brooks and Dunn later. It's a huge country song. Hammer Time, moving along with that MC Hammer song. Hammer Time, boom, 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 boom. Can't touch this. I don't know. Whichever one is which. Achy Breaky Heart had a song, a line dance. And then that brings us to the most modern, well, not the most modern one that I know of, but the one that was seared into my optics as a child at every school dance I ever had the misfortune to go to, the Macarena, which I still constantly, I don't know if I'm mocking it or if it's just so stuck in my brain that I'm compelled to say it every so often. I'll be walking around the house, like saying stuff like that, and I'll just go, oh, Macarena. I don't even know the rest of the song. That's the only part I know. And it involves, like, moving, like, your hips around and putting your hands on your hips and, like, putting them out in front of you and moving. I don't even know. I never could get it. And I never really wanted to. To be honest. But if you want to know something from when I was a preteen. The Macarena. From 1993 1995, those were the two big years for when it first came out. The Cha-Cha Slide in 2000. And It's Always Big around weddings and things. Let me see if I can. I don't know. It was do this 2 times, boom, 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 something like that. I don't remember exactly because I don't really personally know a lot of these because I don't dance and because I'm kind of always the person who, when these things happen and everybody flood the dance floors, just like start doing them together. That's the point where I'm gonna go have some punch or something. I don't do it. There was a dance that came out with that Crank That Soulja Boy song. I wasn't into that. Apparently the Single Lady song from Beyonce has a song. Gangnam Style. That's one of the biggest ones that's come out as I've been mostly an adult. That one has that guy, I think he's Korean or Vietnamese. I think it's Korean, where he does that thing where he's like galloping like a pony. Oppa Gangnam Style. I don't know. That's the most I know about how it goes. But there's a few more new since then, but most of them are kind of forgettable. That was the last one that I think was like actually something people paid attention to, and the rest of these are more like TikTok crazes and things. Like the dab and the nay and the whip and whatever. Like, if you know what those are, you'll be like, yeah. And then there's the Fortnite dances, the weird arm thing. I don't know. But, so that's it. That's dance crazes. We've been doing this recorded-wise for cameras and things all the way back since the mid-1800s. Probably longer. I'm sure there's coordinated dance things. Like there's cultural dances that people do, like Native Americans had dance ceremonies that are still common for them today. There's various tribal dances in Africa and South America and things like that. But as far as like big mainstream pop culture stuff, yeah, 1800s and up, we've been recording it, and it's good stuff if that's what you're into. I'm not into dancing. I don't like to dance, and I don't do dancing. I used to do some moshing back in the day when I was in the metal scene, but I don't do that so much anymore. I'm an old man. I'm old. I don't do that no more. But if you are interested in any of these, re-listen to the episode. Look up the dances on YouTube. Make sure you put dance in your search so you don't pull up something that's not at all what you were looking for. And you can see how these are done, and maybe if you want, you can try them for yourself. Here's a good idea. Take a video of you doing these dances and post it on my Facebook page. Spider Does Things on Facebook. I want to see it. I want to see you dance the mashed potato. I want to see you dance the Macarena. Some of you people probably still remember it. I will try not to be too harsh on you. But remember, I can't mock you for it. Because I don't do them, and I would be worse than you on every single level. So don't feel bad. Because there's always somebody who dances worse than you, and that person is me. But do that for me. I'd love to see it. It would make my day. And anything else you want to say, drop a comment on this broadcast on YouTube. Of course, you can't do it on Spotify, so if you're listening on that or any of the various other podcasting apps, you won't be able to tell me anything. But if you go to YouTube, this will be posted there on the playlist. Let's Talk About This Season 2. And you can tell me what you thought of the episode, or you can send me an email at uncannyspiritsclub@gmail.com. gmail.com, and I will be glad to hear from you. Next week, next Monday, it's going to be about school days. All the trouble I used to get into, not all of it, some of it's not appropriate, but all the things that I used to do in school as a kid because I did not like school. And I'm a bad influence, so please warn your children who might be listening to the show, do not follow my example as far as school is concerned. I am not a good school example. But next week, episode 39 for school days. And the week after that, roughly, I think I'm off on my weeks. I think actually that I'm off on my weeks. But regardless, if it's not directly that week after, it'll be soon after. There's going to be the pre-recorded once I get together with the extra special guest for bad jokes. Bad jokes. That is episode 40, the last episode of season 2, before my month-long break. And then it'll be season 3, probably beginning with the new year. 2024 season 3. So only 2 more episodes to go until then. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got for you. So please have a good night, good day if you're listening to this after the fact, or whatever. And I'll catch you folks next time.